Hello, I'm Dr. Lemuel Stewart, Associate Professor and Counselor and President of the Black American Council here at Cuyahoga Community College. I would like to present one of my all-time favorite people in Black history, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. William Edward Burghardt Du Bois was born February 23, 1868. He was an American sociologist, socialist, historian, civil rights activist, Pan-Africanist, author, editor, and professor. Born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, Du Bois grew up in a relatively tolerant and integrated community. Du Bois attended Fisk University, earning a bachelor's degree, and it was at Fisk in Tennessee where he first encountered racism and Jim Crow laws. He went on to study at Harvard University, earning a second bachelor's degree, and after completing graduate work at the University of Berlin and Harvard, Du Bois became the first African American to earn a doctorate from Harvard. He became a professor of history, sociology, and economics at Wilberforce University in Ohio, and then moved on to Atlanta University in Georgia. Du Bois was one of the founders of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, in 1909. Du Bois had risen to national prominence as the leader of the Niagara Movement, a group of African American activists that wanted equal rights for blacks. Du Bois and his supporters opposed the Atlanta Compromise, an agreement crafted by Booker T. Washington, which provided that Southern blacks would work and submit to white political rule, while Southern whites guaranteed that blacks would receive basic educational and economic opportunities. Instead, Du Bois insisted on full civil rights and increased political representation for African Americans, which he believed would be brought about by the African American intellectual elite. He referred to this group as the Talented Tenth. This concept of a talented tenth came under the umbrella of racial uplift, and he believed that African Americans needed the chances for advanced education to develop leadership amongst the race. Racism was the main target of Du Bois's politics, and he strongly protested against lynching, Jim Crow laws, and discrimination in education and employment. His causes included people of color everywhere, including Africans and Asians living in British-ruled colonies. He was a proponent of the Pan-Africanism, and he helped organize the Pan-African Congress to fight for the independence of African colonies from European powers. Du Bois made several trips to Europe, Africa, and Asia after World War I, and he surveyed the experiences of American black soldiers in France and documented the widespread prejudice and racism in the United States military. Du Bois was a prolific author. In his collection of essays, The Souls of Black Folk, his widely respected work in the African American literature, and his 1935 work entitled Black Reconstruction in America, he challenged the prevailing theory that blacks were responsible for the failures of the Reconstruction era, and borrowing a phrase from Frederick Douglass, he popularized the use of the term color line to represent injustice of the separate but equal. This doctrine was prevalent in American social and political life. He opens The Souls of Black Folk with his central thesis of much of his life's work. Quote, "The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line," end quote. His 1940 autobiography, Dusk of Dawn, is regarded in part as one of the first scientific works in the field of American sociology. And he published two other works in the area of sociology, all three containing essays on sociology, politics, and history. In his role as editor of the NAACP's journal, The Crisis, he published many influential pieces. Du Bois believed that capitalism was the primary cause of racism, and he generally was sympathetic to socialist causes throughout his life. He was an ardent peace activist and advocated strongly for nuclear disarmament. The United States Civil Rights Act of 1964 embodied many of the reforms for which Du Bois had campaigned for his entire life. This act was enacted a year after his death. W.E.B. Du Bois died August 27, 1963 in Ghana. He was 95 years old, but his legacy lives on. This is a moment in Black history. Thank you for listening.